Dearest beloved divine friends and families, brothers and sisters, welcome to In the Raw, RKs Guyana Free Media, and I'm your host, Haji Dr. Roshan Khan. You need to check YouTube, RKs Guyana Free Media. You need to tell your family and friends, and you need to share some of these messages that we're bringing to you. That started on the 4th of March 2020 when Mingo, Mr. Mingo, was in his big time of fraud with Lowenfield and their clandestine operatives of power to steal an election and to steal a nation. From then to now, lots of things are happening. You need to check that out and share it. Put some commentary at times. FREDDIE KISSON column on Thursday, October 1st, 2020. And I'm your host, Haji Brother Dr. Roshan Khan. David Patterson, the oxymoronic political life of a failed politician. Now, friends and families, oxymoronic. I mean, this is supposed to be kind of an intellectual, though in the raw presentation. And even if the words are usually high, I like to break it down to help the other ordinary man in the street. Not that they're not intelligent, because street knowledge and street wisdom is awesome in brilliance. So my point is, oxymoronic means a person or a thing that contradicts itself on a constant basis, saying one thing, doing another, and so on. So his old friend with whom he campaigned and brought down the PPC government in 2015, and they sacrificed and burnt and ate and drank together, that FREDDIE KISSON, out of his principle, had to slaughter the oxymoronic David Patterson, according to him. I'm just a reader, ladies and gentlemen. And I, not being as much as intellectual as FREDDIE KISSON and as qualified as him and so on, I just thought it's wise to give you that meaning, because this man has a tongue that is sharp, make you feel like nothing when he's finished with you. He has a tongue that will raise you and make you fly to Mars. And he has the skill and ability to devastate as he can create. FREDDIE KISSON, you got to put these things together, man, and make your book. I was telling you something like this. This is the prototype. This is the rough. This is the prototype. And so you make your copies, my friend, and contract someone, and you all share the money, man. But at least you will live in posterity. You can do this. It's easy. You already have it in print. Okay, Freddie? All the best. Now I'm going to the article, The Oxymoronic Political Life of a Failed Politician. And here we listen now to FREDDIE KISSON with a few commentaries of mine. Mr. David Patterson did a strange thing a few days ago. He resigned from the elected position of General Secretary of the AFC because of a violation of an agreed position with the PNC, and he, Patterson, negotiated. The agreement was that in each region that the APNO AFC won, the deputy chairperson would come from the AFC. I chose to use the word strange because of the nature of the resignation. If your partner reneged on an agreement, why choose to stay in Parliament with that same partner? Why resign the General Secretary post and not your membership? So your party is emasculated. Emasculated means crushed, mashed, beaten, squeezed, juiced out, emasculated. and did not come to your rescue, but you chose to stay with those very colleagues and continue to represent that party in the House, meaning Parliament. That may be a strange act, but here is why the comical part comes in, why Patterson thinks he will earn respect and receive plaudits from people in and outside of Guyana because of the display of a so-called principled stance. The AFC is devoid of principles, according to Freddie KISSON. He was a supporter of theirs, not a member, but a supporter. The AFC is devoid of principles and ethics that positive human beings value. So in the end, Patterson may end up looking comical, like a Mickey Mouse, like a zombie. I am just interpreting his word in other dimensions. Zombieistic. I'm just interpreting the words of Freddie KISSON in a different tangent of what he's talking about. He may end up looking comical when the FC record is laid bare. We start with the power struggle. We start with the remember this is the raw, I can't correct, right? So I really read back. We start with the power victory in 2015. Then we'll skip across to Patterson's friends. Who are his friends, ladies and gentlemen? The bingo. The guy he refers to as Mr. Lolo. And at times, Romchat. Back to the article. Claremont, Mingo, Keith, Lowenfield, Kemmerat, Ramjatan, the seller of Guyana's patrimony, Raphael Trotman, my words, and ironically, Dominic Gaskin. But Dominic Gaskin is of different breeding and structure. Mr. Patterson is yet to face the public and tell Guyanese if it was principled behavior when his colleagues at the time of selecting cabinet assignments in May 2015 called a certain woman who didn't campaign for the AFC and offer her the position of Minister of the Environment, thus overlooking stalwarts who deserved better. I gotta read that back to you. Listen again. Mr. Patterson is yet to face the public and tell Guyanese if it was principled behavior when his colleagues at the time of selecting cabinet assignments in May 2015 called a certain woman who didn't campaign for the AFC and offered her the position of Minister of the Environment. Stalwarts who deserve better were overlooked technically. So that's question one. Let's look at question two. What was the quarrel between you and Nigel Hughes when in 2016 at the Artichoke Conference Center, where a retreat was held, and the sole topic was the expansive and mountainous power allocation of the Minister of the Presidency? You got to get it back again, ladies and gentlemen. Why you listen again? This is important. Question two. What was the quarrel between you, Patterson, and Nigel Hughes when in 2016 at the Artichoke Conference Center, where a retreat was held, and the sole topic was the expansive and mountainous power allocation of the Minister of the Presidency? The decision to ask for a curtailment of Harmon's portfolio was accepted by the retreat attendees, but the next day Hughes resigned. Why did he resign? Why didn't you resign when the PNC rejected the request to trim Harmon's portfolio? Mouth open, story jump out. So they came to the decision that Harmon's power, he was the god of the PNC. He was being made god of Guyana. He was being made God of APNU. And it was so disturbing that when it went to the echelon of the PNC, and particularly it had to be the former President David Arthur Granger, to trim Harman's power, it was not. And the next day, Nigel Hughes, a man of principle, resigned. And Freddie Kisson is asking the oxymoronic political life of a failed politician, his former friend David Patterson, why didn't he resign? Ladies and gentlemen, think for a moment on that as I sip a glass of milk in the raw. And painful, ladies and gentlemen, we have to import this from Europe. We can't make flavored milk in Guyana. And that is one of the things that Guy Soko could be doing, breeding cattle at all their stations, the milk going to one spot and being processed into milk products. Of course, the APNU AFC didn't have eyes for that. Their DNA was for power and wealth. But I think the PPPC government, banana milk, I'm sorry, my aim is not to advertise for them, but I'm trying to use it to get some support for Guyana to do their thing. And Europe don't grow banana, you know. And we have a tropical country, and we can grow animal, cattle, banana, fruits, and everything. Back to the article. Question 3. In the 5 years of power, why didn't you and the AFC publicly come clean with the Guyanese people, both here and abroad, over the cancellation of the amendment to the anti-narcotic legislation? Why they didn't come clean? Freddie is asking them on that. It was drafted by Hughes and put on the order paper of the House under the rubric of the AFC, under the control or the presentation then, the mark, the stamp of the AFC, to be read in the name of AFC parliamentarian Michael Carrington. He's asking, you know. Question 4. Freddie Kisson asks again, in what can be interpreted as one of the most disgraceful deceits by a politician, both from colonial times and after independence, Ranjithan addressed his ministerial staff, conceded that the APNU and AFC lost the election, gave a farewell speech, then a few days after denied the entire episode, which was recorded, which I think you have heard. Why didn't you resign after having such a disgrace as your leader? So, Mr. Oxymoronic David Patterson, why didn't you resign after your leaders did something so despicable and horrendous, according to Freddie Kisson? I'm just a reader, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just a reader. I am no political analyst and no intellectual of the caliber of Freddie Kisson. And I respect the man. And this is the guy, the Kaieteur News. Question 5. Do you agree what Mingo did at the GCOM head office on Friday, March 13th, 2020, when he announced fake tabulation using a dirty bedsheet, a piece of cardboard, and a half-dead projector? You consider it a principled stand to be part of that circus? Mr. Oxymoronic David Patterson of a failed politician? Freddie Kisson is asking. I am only reading, my friend. I'm only reading. I'm just an ordinary guy. Back to the article. Question 6. Chief Elections Officer CEO Keith Lowenfield submitted 6 different elections results. Why did you not see it as a matter of principle and reject what Lowenfield declared, that Mr. Freddie KISSON nicknamed Mr. Lolo? You know, low and lower. Mr. Lolo. Back to the article. Question 7. Truckman announced for the world to hear that once the CEO has arrived at his tabulation, his conclusion cannot be challenged by any human in Guyana, and there is no law or constitutional provision that can be cited to overturn his figures. Do you agree with that asinine masturbation, Mr. Oxymoronic failed politician, according to Freddie KISSON, Mr. David Patterson? I'm going to read again. Truckman announced for the world to hear that once the CEO has arrived at his tabulation, his conclusion cannot be challenged by any human in Guyana, and there is no law or constitutional provision that can be cited to overturn his figures. Do you agree with that asinine masturbation, Mr. Oxymoronic David Patterson, according to Freddie KISSON? There's no law, no court of appeal. I mean, this man is judge, jury, executioner, God, appeal court, Caribbean Court of Appeal, and everything coming from the mouth of a disgraced lawyer. A lawyer who has sold our patrimony of the Guyana, I don't know for what. Back to the article. Question 8. Do you believe that David Granger is a U.S. citizen? I would only say that I would like to see Granger's proof that he's not. Why would Michael Granger, a Guyanese employed by your outfit APNO and AFC, who tried to persuade influential American personnel that APNO and AFC won the 2020 poll, refer to Granger as an American citizen? Oxymoronic, according to Freddie KISSON, David Patterson. Sir, you need to answer. Question 9. Did you take out licenses for your dogs when your government in the 2018 budget announced that owners must take out a license for each? I know you have 4 dogs. Can you show me that you abided by your own government's regulation? I didn't even know I'm supposed to get a dog license. That's if you're walking on the road, or if you have it in your compound. You have to pay to have a dog. Is that right? Dog license? I don't know. I have to find out. I think a relative of mine, he got a dog. His name is Atlas. Very beautiful. I don't know who owns it, but some relative. I have to ask around. Dog license. Okay. Let's move on. Final question. From the master, the political analyst, a true hero of Guyanese politics, whose name resonates with consciousness and brilliance. Your principal friend Gaskin said that the AFC leaders did not see the statements of poll. They were in the possession of APNO. Have you seen them? In fact, I heard you are in possession of them. Freddie is asking. So he is possession them. Why they don't show it till now? They're saying they have an illegal government, but they can't show their statements of poll. Talking about oxymoronic political gross stupidity in our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a reader. And a few commented on a few words. Really, the power in the words of Freddie KISSON that I'm using in different tangents. I don't have the capacity for such intellectual stimulation. Your friend, your brother, me, Haji, Dr. Roshan, saying thank you for listening and tuning in to RKs Guyana Free Media, and farewell, friends.